altar of devotion, and swear that he will be a hero, yes, a Hector in a cause like this, which calls aloud for a speedy remedy." "Mine be the deed," said a young lawyer, "and mine alone. Venus alone shall quit her station before I will forsake one jot or tittle of my promise to you. What is death to me? What is all this warlike army, if it is not to win a victory? I love the sleep of the lover and the mighty, nor would I give it over till the blood of my enemies should reek with that of my own. But God forbid that our fame should soar on the blood of the slumberer." Mr. Valeer stands at his door, with the frown of a demon upon his brow, with his dangerous weapon ready to strike the first man who should enter his door. "Who will arise and go forward through blood and carnage to rescue my Ambulinia?" said Elfonzo. "All!" exclaimed the multitude, and onward they went, with their implements of battle. Others, of a more timid nature, stood among the distant hills to see the result of the contest. Elfonzo took the lead of his band. Night arose in clouds, darkness concealed the heavens, but the blazing hopes that stimulated them gleamed in every bosom. All approached the anxious spot. They rushed to the front of the house, and with one exclamation demanded Ambulinia. "Away! Begone! and disturb my peace no more," said Mr. Valeer. "You are a set of base, insolent, and infernal rascals. Go, the northern stars points your path through the dim twilight of the night. Go, and vent your spite upon the lonely hills. Pour forth your love, you poor weak-minded wretch, upon your idleness, and upon your guitar and your fiddle. They are fit subjects for your admiration, for let me assure you, though this sword and iron lever are cankered, yet they frown in sleep. And let one of you dare to enter my house this night, and you shall have the contents and the weight of these instruments." "Never yet did base dishonor blur my name," said Elfonzo. "Mine is a cause of renown. Here are my warriors. Fear and tremble, for this night, though hell itself should oppose, I will endeavor to avenge her whom thou hast banished in solitude. The voice of Ambulinia shall be heard from that dark dungeon." At that moment Ambulinia appeared at the window above, and with a tremulous voice said, "Live, Elfonzo, oh, live to raise my stone of moss. Why should such language enter your heart? Why should thy voice rend the air with such agitation? I bid thee live, once more remembering these tears of mine are shed alone for thee, in this dark and gloomy vault, and should I perish under this load of trouble, join the song of thrilling accents with the raven above my grave, and lay this tattered frame beside the banks of the Chattahoochee, or the stream of Sawney's brook. Sweet will be the song of death to your Ambulinia. My ghost shall visit you in the smiles of paradise, and tell your high fame to the minds of that region which is far more preferable than this lonely cell. My heart shall speak for thee till the latest hour. I know faint and broken are the sounds of sorrow, yet our souls, Elfonzo, shall hear the peaceful songs together. One bright name shall be ours on high, if we are not permitted to be united here. Bear in mind that I still cherish my old sentiments, and the poet will mingle the names of Elfonzo and Ambulinia in the tide of other days." "Fly, Elfonzo," said the voices of his united band, "to the wounded heart of your beloved. All enemies shall fall beneath thy sword. Fly through the clefts, and the dim spark shall sleep in death." Elfonzo rushes forward, and strikes his shield against the door, which was barricaded, to prevent any intercourse. His brave sons throng around him, the people pour along the streets, both male and female, to prevent or witness the melancholy scene. "To arms! to arms!" cried Elfonzo. "Here is a victory to be won, a prize to be gained that is more to me than the whole world beside." "It cannot be done to night," said Mr. Valeer. "I bear the clang of death. My strength and armor shall prevail. My Ambulinia shall rest in this hall until the break of another day, and if we fall, we fall together. If we die, we die clinging to our tattered rights, and our blood alone shall tell the mournful tale of a murdered daughter and a ruined father." Sure enough, he kept watch all night, and was successful in defending his house and family. The bright morning gleamed upon the hills, night vanished away. The Major and his associates felt somewhat ashamed that they had not been as fortunate as they expected to have been. However, they still leaned upon their arms in dispersed groups. Some were walking the streets, others were talking in the Major's behalf. Many of the citizens suspended business, as the town presented nothing but consternation, a novelty that might end in the destruction of some worthy and respectable citizens. Mr. Valeer ventured in the streets, though not without being well armed. Some of his friends congratulated him on the decided stand he had taken, and hoped he would settle the matter amicably with Elfonzo without any serious injury. "Me?" he replied. "What, me condescend to fellowship with a coward and a low-lived, lazy, undermining villain? No, gentlemen, this cannot be. I had rather be borne off, like the bubble upon the dark blue ocean, with Ambulinia by my side, than to have him in the ascending or descending line of relationship. Gentlemen," continued he, "if Elfonzo is so much of a distinguished character, and is so learned in the fine arts, why do you not patronize such men? Why not introduce him into your families, as a gentleman of taste and of unequaled magnanimity? Why are you so very anxious that he should become a relative of mine? Oh, gentlemen, I fear you yet are tainted with the curiosity of our first parents, who were beguiled by the poisonous kiss of an old ugly serpent, and who, for one apple, damned all mankind. I wish to divest myself, as far as possible, of that untutored custom. I have long since learned that the perfection of wisdom, and the end of true philosophy, is to proportion our wants to our possessions, our ambition to our capacities. We will then be a happy and a virtuous people." Ambulinia was sent off to prepare for a long and tedious journey. Her new acquaintances had been instructed by her father how to treat her, and in what manner, and to keep the anticipated visit entirely secret. Elfonzo was watching the movements of everybody. Some friends had told him of the plot that was laid to carry off Ambulinia. At night he rallied some 2 or 3 of his forces, and went silently along to the stately mansion. A faint and glimmering light showed through the windows. Lightly he steps to the door. There were many voices rallying fresh in fancy's eye. He tapped the shutter. It was opened instantly, and he beheld once more, seated beside several ladies, the hope of all his toils. He rushed toward her. She rose from her seat, rejoicing. He made one mighty grasp, when Ambulinia exclaimed, "Huzza for Major Elfonzo! I will defend myself and you too with this conquering instrument I hold in my hand. Huzza, I say! I now invoke Time's broad wing to shed around us some dewdrops of verdant spring." But the hour had not come for this joyous reunion. Her friends struggled with Elfonzo for some time, and finally succeeded in arresting her from his hands. He dared not injure them, because they were matrons whose courage needed no spur. She was snatched from the arms of Elfonzo with so much eagerness, and yet with such expressive signification, that he calmly withdrew from this lovely enterprise, with an ardent hope that he should be lulled to repose by the zephyrs which whispered peace to his soul. Several long days and nights passed unmolested. All seemed to have grounded their arms of rebellion, and no calamity appeared to be going on with any of the parties. Other arrangements were made by Ambulinia. She feigned herself to be entirely the votary of a mother's care, and she, by her graceful smiles, that manhood might claim his term dominion in some other region, where such boisterous love was not so prevalent. This gave the parents a confidence that yielded some hours of sober joy. They believed that Ambulinia would now cease to love Elfonzo, and that her stolen affections would now expire with her misguided opinions. They therefore declined the idea of sending her to a distant land. But oh, they dreamed not of the rapture that dazzled the fancy of Ambulinia, who would say, when alone, Youth should not fly away on his rosy pinions, and leave her to grapple in the conflict with unknown admirers. No frowning age shall control the constant current of my soul, nor a tear from pity's eye shall check my sympathetic sigh. With this resolution fixed in her mind, one dark and dreary night, when the winds whistled and the tempest roared, she received intelligence that Elfonzo was then waiting, and every preparation was then ready, at the residence of Dr. Tully, and for her to make a quick escape while the family was reposing. Accordingly she gathered her books, went to the wardrobe supplied with a variety of ornamental dressing, and ventured alone in the streets to make her way to Elfonzo, who was near at hand, impatiently looking and watching her arrival. "What forms," said she, "are those rising before me? What is that dark spot on the clouds? I do wonder what frightful ghost that is, gleaming on the red tempest. Oh, be merciful and tell me what region you are from. Oh, tell me, ye strong spirits, or ye dark and fleeting clouds, that I yet have a friend." "A friend," said a low, whispering voice. "I am thy unchanging, thy aged, and thy disappointed mother. Why brandish in that hand of thine a javelin of pointed steel? Why suffer that lip I have kissed 1,000 times to equivocate? My daughter, let these tears sink deep into thy soul, and no longer persist in that which may be your destruction and ruin. Come, my dear child, retract your steps, and bear me company to your welcome home." Without one retorting word or frown from her brow, she yielded to the entreaties of her mother, and with all the mildness of her former character she went along with the silver lamp of age to the home of candor and benevolence. Her father received her cold and formal politeness. "Where has Ambulinia been, this blustering evening, Mrs. Valeer?" inquired he. "Oh, she and I have been taking a solitary walk," said the mother. "All things, I presume, are now working for the best." Elfonzo heard this news shortly after it happened. "What!" said he, "has heaven and earth turned against me? I have been disappointed times without number. Shall I despair? Must I give it over? Heaven's decrees will not fade. I will write again, I will try again, and if it traverses a gory field, I pray forgiveness at the altar of justice." Desolate Hill, Cumming, Georgia, 1844. Unconquered and beloved Ambulinia, I have only time to say to you, not to despair. Thy fame shall not perish. My visions are brightening before me. The whirlwind's rage is past, and we now shall subdue our enemies without doubt. On Monday morning, when your friends are at breakfast, they will not suspect your departure, or even mistrust me being in town, as it has been reported advantageously that I have left for the West. You walk carelessly toward the Academy Grove, where you will find me with a lightning steed, elegantly equipped to bear you off where we shall be joined in wedlock with the first connubial rights. Fail not to do this, think not of the tedious relations of our wrongs, be invincible. You alone occupy all my ambition, and I alone will make you my happy spouse, with the same unimpeached veracity. I remain, forever, your devoted friend and admirer, J. L. Elfonzo. The appointed day ushered in undisturbed by any clouds. Nothing disturbed Ambulinia's soft beauty. With serenity and loveliness she obeys the request of Elfonzo. The moment the family seated themselves at the table, "Excuse my absence for a short time," said she, "while I attend to the placing of those flowers, which should have been done a week ago." And away she ran to the sacred grove, surrounded with glittering pearls that indicated her coming. Elfonzo hails her with his silver bow and his golden harp. They meet. Ambulinia's countenance brightens. Elfonzo leads up his winged steed. "Mount," said he, "ye true-hearted, ye fearless soul, the day is ours." She sprang upon the back of the young thunderbolt. A brilliant star sparkled upon her head, With one hand she grasps the reins, and with the other she holds an olive branch. "Lend thy aid, ye strong winds!" they exclaimed, "ye moon, ye sun, and all ye fair host of heaven, witness the enemy conquered." "Hold," said Elfonzo, "thy dashing steed." "Ride on," said Ambulinia, "the voice of thunder is behind us." And onward they went, with such rapidity that they were very soon arrived at Rural Retreat, where they dismounted, and were united with all the solemnities that usually attend such divine operations. They passed the day in thanksgiving and great rejoicing, and on that evening they visited their uncle, where many of their friends and acquaintances had gathered to congratulate them in the field of untainted bliss. The kind old gentleman met them in the yard. "Well," said he, "I wish I may die, Elfonzo, if you and Ambulinia haven't tied a knot with your tongue that you can't untie with your teeth. But come in, come in, never mind, all is right. The world still moves on, and no one has fallen in this great battle." Happy now is their lot. Unmoved by misfortune, they live among the fair beauties of the South. Heaven spreads their peace and fame upon the arch of the rainbow, and smiles propitiously at their triumph through the tears of the storm. End of Section 18. This is Section 19 of the $30,000 Bequest and Other Stories by Mark Twain. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Californian's Tale by Mark Twain. 35 years ago I was out prospecting on the Stanislaus, tramping all day long with pick and pan and horn, and washing a hatful of dirt here and there, always expecting to make a rich strike, and never doing it. It was a lovely region, woodsy, balmy, delicious, and had once been populous, long years before, but now the people had vanished, and the charming paradise was a solitude. They went away when the surface diggings gave out. In one place, where a busy little city with banks and newspapers and fire companies and a mayor and aldermen had been, was nothing but a wide expanse of emerald turf, with not even the faintest sign that human life had ever been present there. This was down toward Tuttletown. In the country neighborhood thereabouts, along the dusty roads, one found at intervals the prettiest little cottage homes, snug and cozy, and so cobwebbed with vines snowed thick with roses that the doors and windows were wholly hidden from sight, sign that these were deserted homes, forsaken years ago by defeated and disappointed families who could neither sell them nor give them away. Now and then, half an hour apart, one came across solitary log cabins of the earliest mining days, built by the first gold miners, the predecessors of the cottage builders. In some few cases these cabins were still occupied, but when this was so, you could depend upon it that the occupant was the very pioneer who had built the cabin, and you could depend on another thing, too, that he was there because he had once had his opportunity to go home to the States rich, and had not done it, had rather lost his wealth, and had then, in his humiliation, resolved to sever all communication with his home relatives and friends, and be to them thenceforth as one dead. Round about California in that day were scattered a host of these living dead men, pride-smitten poor fellows, grizzled and old at 40, whose secret thoughts were made all of regrets and longings, regrets for their wasted lives, and longings to be out of the struggle and done with it all. It was a lonesome land. Not a sound in all those peaceful expanses of grass and woods but the drowsy hum of insects. No glimpse of man or beast, nothing to keep up your spirits and make you glad to be alive. And so at last, in the early part of the afternoon, when I caught sight of a human creature, I felt a most grateful uplift. This person was a man about 45 years old, and he was standing at the gate of one of those cozy little rose-clad cottages of the sort already referred to. However, this one hadn't a deserted look. It had the look of being lived in, and petted and cared for and looked after, and so had its front yard, which was a garden of flowers, abundant, gay, and flourishing. I was invited in, of course, and required to make myself at home. It was the custom of the country. It was delightful to be in such a place after long weeks of daily and nightly familiarity with miners' cabins, with all which this implies of dirt floor, never-made beds, tin plates and cups, bacon and beans and black coffee, and nothing of ornament but war pictures from the Eastern illustrated papers tacked to the log walls. That was all hard, cheerless, materialistic desolation, but here was a nest which had aspects to rest the tired eye and refresh that something in one's nature which, after long fasting, recognizes, when confronted by the belongings of art, howsoever cheap and modest they may be, that it has unconsciously been famishing and now has found nourishment. I could not have believed that a rag carpet could feast me so, and so content me, or that there could be such solace to the soul in wallpaper, and framed lithographs, and bright-colored tidies, and lamp mats, and Windsor chairs, and varnished walnuts, with seashells, and books and china vases on them, and the score of little unclassifiable tricks and touches that a woman's hand distributes about at home, which one sees without knowing he sees them, yet would miss in a moment if they were taken away. The delight that was in my heart showed in my face, and the man saw it and was pleased. Saw it so plainly that he answered it as if it had been spoken. "All her work," he said, caressingly. "She did it all herself, every bit." And he took the room in with a glance which was full of affectionate worship. One of those soft Japanese fabrics with which women drape with careful negligence the upper part of the picture frame was out of adjustment. He noticed it and rearranged it with cautious pains, stepping back several times to gauge the effect before he got it to suit him. Then he gave it a light finishing pat or two with his hand and said, "She always does that. You can't tell just what it lacks, but it does lack something until you've done that. You can see it yourself after it's done, but that is all you know. You can't find out the law of it. It's like the finishing pats a mother gives the child's hair after she's got it combed and brushed, I reckon. I've seen her fix all these things so much that I can do them all just her way, though I don't know the law of any of them. But she knows the law. She knows the why and the how both. But I don't know the why. I only know the how." He took me into a bedroom so that I might wash my hands. Such a bedroom as I had not seen for years. White counterpane, white pillows, carpeted floor, papered walls, pictures, dressing table with mirror and pincushion and dainty toilet things, and in the corner a washstand with real chinaware bowl and pitcher, and with soap in a china dish, and on a rack more than a dozen towels too clean and white for one out of practice to use without some vague sense of profanation. So my face spoke again, and he answered with gratified words. "All her work. She did it all herself, every bit. Nothing here that hasn't felt the touch of her hand. Now, you would think, but I mustn't talk so much." By this time I was wiping my hands and glancing from detail to detail of the room's belongings, as one is apt to do when he is in a new place, where everything he sees is a comfort to his eye and his spirit. And I became conscious, in one of those unaccountable ways, that there was something there, somewhere, that the man wanted me to discover for myself. I knew it perfectly, and I knew he was trying to help me by furtive indications with his eye, so I tried hard to get on the right track, being eager to gratify him. I failed several times, as I could see out of the corner of my eye without being told, but at last I knew I must be looking straight at the thing, knew it from the pleasure issuing in invisible waves from him. He broke into a happy laugh, rubbed his hands together, and cried out, "That's it! You found it! I knew you would! It's her picture!" I went to the little black walnut bracket on the farther wall, and did find there what I had not yet noticed, a daguerreotype case. It contained the sweetest girlish face, and the most beautiful, as it seemed to me, that I had ever seen. The man drank the admiration from my face and was fully satisfied. 19, her last birthday, he said, as he put the picture back. And that was the day we were married. When you see her, just wait till you see her. Where is she? When will she be in? Oh, she's away now. She's gone to see her people. They live 40 or 50 miles from here. She's been gone 2 weeks today. When do you expect her back? Well, this is Wednesday. She'll be back Saturday in the evening, about 9 o'clock likely. I felt a sharp sense of disappointment. I'm sorry, because I'll be gone then, I said regretfully. Gone? No. Why should you go? Don't go. She'll be disappointed. She would be disappointed, that beautiful creature. If she had said the words herself, they could hardly have blessed me more. I was feeling a deep, strong longing to see her, a longing so supplicating, so insistent, that it made me afraid. I said to myself, I will go straight away from this place for my peace and mind's sake. You see, she likes to have people come and stop with us, people who know things and can talk, people like you. She delights in it, for she knows, she knows nearly everything herself, and can talk, like a bird. And the books she reads, why, you would be astonished. Don't go. It's only a little while, you know, and she'll be so disappointed. I heard the words, but hardly noticed them. I was so deep in my thinkings and strugglings. He left me, but I didn't know. Presently he was back with a picture case in his hand, and he held it open before me and said, There, now tell her to her face you could have stayed to see her, and you wouldn't. That second glimpse broke down my good resolution. I would stay and take the risk. That night we smoked the tranquil pipe and talked till late about various things, but mainly about her, and certainly I had had no such pleasant and restful time for many a day. The Thursday followed and slipped comfortably away. Toward twilight, a big miner from 3 miles away came, one of the grizzled, stranded pioneers, and gave us warm salutation, clothed in grave and sober speech. Then he said, I only just dropped over to ask about the little madam, and when is she coming home? Any news from her? Oh, yes, a letter. Would you like to hear it, Tom? Well, I should think I would, if you don't mind, Henry. Henry got the letter out of his wallet and said he would skip some of the private phrases, if he were willing, and then he went on and read the bulk of it, a loving, sedate, and altogether charming and gracious piece of handiwork, a postscript full of affectionate regards and messages to Tom, Joe, and Charlie, and other close friends and neighbors. As the reader finished, he glanced at Tom and cried out, Oh, you're at it again. Now take your hands away and let me see your eyes. You always do that when I read a letter from her. I will write and tell her. Oh, no, you mustn't, Henry. I'm getting old, and any little disappointment makes me want to cry. I thought she'd be here herself, and now you've got only a letter. Well, now, what put that in your head? I thought everybody knew she wasn't coming till Saturday. Saturday? Why, come to think of it, I did know it. I wonder what's the matter with me lately. Certainly I knew it. Ain't we all getting ready for her? Well, I must be going now, but I'll be on hand when she comes, old man. Late Friday afternoon, another gray veteran tramped over from his cabin a mile or so away, and said the boys wanted to have a little gaiety and a good time Saturday night, if Henry thought she wouldn't be too tired after her journey to be kept up. Tired? She tired? Oh, hear the man. Joe, you know she'd sit up 6 weeks to please any of you. When Joe heard that there was a letter, he asked to have it read, and loving messages in it for him broke the old fellow all up. But he said he was such an old wreck that would happen to him if she only just mentioned his name. Lord, we miss her so, he said. Saturday afternoon, I found I was taking out my watch pretty often. Henry noticed it and said, with a startled look, You don't think she ought to be here soon, do you? I felt cold, a little embarrassed. But I laughed and said it was a habit of mine when I was in a state of expectancy. But he didn't seem quite satisfied, and from that time on he began to show uneasiness. 4 times he walked me up the road to appointments we could see a long distance, and there he would stand, shading his eyes with his hand and looking Several times he said, "I'm getting worried. I'm getting right down worried. I know she's not due till about 9 o'clock, and yet something seems to be trying to warn me that something's happened. You don't think anything has happened, do you?" I began to get pretty thoroughly ashamed of him for his childishness, and at last, when he repeated that imploring question still another time, I lost my patience for the moment.